Looking good. Okay. So I don't want to waste the whole thing if we didn't get it. Okay, so we'll cut that out. I can do that.
You can always edit everything.
Yeah, edit everything out. Okay, so we're moving on here. There's actually a lot of things we could go into, but where are you headed next? Let's throw that out.
Where are we headed?
Yeah, where are you headed next?
Well, our next major lecture tour is to the northwest of the United States and Canada, Victoria, Vancouver, and British Columbia, and Seattle and Portland. And then right after that, we're doing a tour to Eastern Europe, Western Europe too, actually. Portugal and Spain and France and Switzerland. And then a whole bunch of countries like Greece, Croatia, Slovenia, Slovakia.
How long is that going to take?
Serbia.
Is that about a year's worth?
No. That's about
less than a year?
It's about 6 weeks.
6 weeks, all that?
Yeah, we do it like every
you
single
hop
day.
around.
Every day we do at least one event, sometimes 2 events a day.
Does that? I'm not trying to be negative, but does that? Do you like to? You can't really do anything while you're there. You're we're in Slovakia or something. We can't really take a side trip.
It's all right.
Is that like,
we're not doing it for touring, really, for touring.
So that's not a big aspect.
We've seen a lot of the world already. We've been around a lot, and the thing we like to do is to connect with local people in a real way, and we can learn about the culture as part of that. But the whole idea for us is, in many ways, is that we're in critical times. And this message is so important, and people are hungry for it. And
that's
helping to support local groups like VegCurious as well. Like VegCurious type groups are in Croatia. They're in Hungary. They're in all over the world. They're doing their thing. And when we come, they get all these people to come. They get major media. They get radio, TV. Sometimes they get newspaper coverage, and they get everybody's mailing list. So when we leave, they're much stronger. So we can just, we're going to speak in the Animal Rights March in Athens, Greece, which is going to be in October. And so we're getting a chance to really link up with activists all over the world, and we've loved doing that. We've met such wonderful people all over the world.
And
I think
one gets to see a lot from
we see
just
a lot.
from from A to B.
Right.
And we're not staying in hotels. We're staying in the people's houses.
Yeah.
So
that's way
really,
better. Well, see, if I stayed in a hotel, I'd want to go to the people's house and talk to them.
So we're eating their food, and it's all vegan, and we're with the vegan communities, and we're with the people, and it's very rewarding.
That kind of clarifies it a little better, because with me, I wouldn't care about going to Big Ben or something. That kind of stuff gets really old. I want to get the story from the person who grew up there.
Right.
And if they would take any time out of their day to give me the real story, I don't care, warts and all. I want to hear it all. And it's so awesome. That happened on my hiking trip in Happy Camp, and hearing the story of people taking other people in and what's really going on,
Exactly.
So it's about the people. Okay, so that's great that we did that. So one of the things, maybe you could touch on specific ideas about VegCurious type meetings that reach, techniques to reach goals, or what might be the best thing they could concentrate their resources on?
Well, again, there's 3 main things: education, education, and education. It's really about education. And education there's many ways of doing it. I think like cooking classes are great, book study groups are great, lectures are great, potlucks are great, Veg Fest. A lot of groups when they get big enough, they put on a Veg Fest, some kind of festival. Having any kind of like vegan hikes maybe, or music, creating videos, anything that can help build vegan communities. One of the things some groups do is they'll eventually create a restaurant or something like that. People can eat it. We see this in China. It's so neat. Like in China, people put their money together, like 50 people put their money together, and all 50 people open a vegan restaurant, and they're all in it together. And the prices, it's all vegan food. It's very inexpensive. They give free meals to elderly people. It's all benevolent. This whole thing. They have this, like in China, they're so far ahead of us in terms of community organizing. They're communal. Like here, we're all individuals. But when you have a community sense, then people work together and cooperate and do all kinds of wonderful things. And like even creating community. Like it'd be great to have more vegan schools, vegan retirement centers, vegan sanctuaries, mini sanctuaries. All these kinds of things can be done by groups of people to build vegan community, because the only reason anyone eats animal foods is because of the community they're in. So the whole idea is create a vegan community and do it and just be creative and think all kinds of different ways we can create community around different themes, around food, around education, around religion, more vegan churches, more vegan spiritual groups, more vegan health groups, cooking groups. There's all kinds of things. Creative, music groups, vegan songs, art. That'll make paintings. Festivals. We need more vegan festivals, plays. We can do. There's no limit to the possibilities. Well, the whole idea, and the idea, and coaching. We need more vegan coaches. Yeah. So everyone can do something.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of, creative is like really striking a chord with me. I'm certainly thinking outside the box. I think differently. What I'm arriving at is that it needs to be a food experience. At least, no matter what it is, food has to be involved. It could be a sewing thing. It could be a vegan sewing thing. But it would be, food has to be there, because without that experience, they're just not going to know what it's like to be vegan. And they have to know that. And I think to be successful when you're introducing something that's better than what they already are doing, that there has to be something in it for them. I know it sounds selfish, but that's a sales, it's a rule, basically. It's like free stuff. It's always popular. It works, you know what I mean? And
food attracts.
Food, good food. No, the A-list food, not just a cookie that's got no butter in it. I'm talking about decadent, that's why I do the chocolate and things like that. But because they can deal with the health stuff later. That's not my department. I'm not a nutritionalist. So I tell them, calories are good, fat's good. I eat fat all the time. It's my radio show. I do that because I don't have to worry about my reputation.
You're hiking a lot, do you?
Well, I hike a lot. I need the calories.
You're burning.
Yeah,
I'm the same way. I can.
So one of my ideas, let me throw this out at you and to get your spontaneous opinion on it. You said it's a prosperous message, and I've said that theme throughout VegCurious is we're not coming from a needy thing. Like, we don't want your email address. We're going to distance ourselves from typical people that are trying to influence others as far as needing something. Like, I'll give you something free, but it's not really free. It's fake, right? Or something. It's like an infomercial or something. So what I'm saying is, we could try to get vegan. Prospering vegan companies who know that we'll do what we say we're going to do, and we'll take those products and we'll give them to non-vegans, because when you said vegan, all these vegan things, I'm thinking beyond that in terms of how to attract people that aren't vegan, where if they see vegan on that, it's a vegan sewing thing, well, they're going to, I don't know about that because I'm not vegan, so I don't go to that. So it might be limiting to someone like that, whereas we say, we're going to go to an event, and we're not going to pay to get in, or we're going to just pop up with this thing. It's going to be a van. It's going to look like a prosperous looking van, and we're going to open that up, and we're just going to give away boxes of stuff, and we're going to leave. It's a pop-up thing. And you can find out about it on, at the last minute, and then it's a vegan group that's doing it, okay? So it makes the news. It's like, hey, these guys just showed up, and it was kind of a guerrilla thing. They didn't even pay. They just said, hey, I don't care, arrest me. I'm giving people free stuff. And you have boxes and boxes of stuff, and each person gets a little bag, and you might hand them a little card. That's not making them feel bad, but it's got the 2 minutes worth of stuff on there that they need to know, so they can go out, you know what I mean? Then you say, well, read this card, that's all. No, we don't want an email address, we don't want a phone number. You read this card, and here's a bag of stuff. I'm hoping to get to that point, because I want to make a splash outside the vegan world. I want to, and get on the news, whatever, that'd be great, but I want it to be something really cool, something different. The free stuff is, again, it's a tried and true thing, and it's just a really nice gesture. I remember giving bus drivers whole candy bars, and these guys aren't vegan, and they're just driving around these buses in London, and I'm just like, hey man, thanks for driving me, and I gave him a whole candy bar, and the guy was just beside himself. Yeah. It was such a great gesture. It wasn't about, hey man, you got to be vegan or anything like that. That kind of brings me to one more quick question that I have. You're on a plane with somebody, or you're in town, or you're Joe Public and no one knows who you are, and they're not vegan, of course, and you're in the real world, right? And do you advocate, or do you kind of like hold back a little bit, or what is your plan there? I mean, typically.
Oh, well, we're always trying to plant a seed wherever we are if we can. You know, we'll have a T-shirt on.
So you will engage people one-on-one on a plan.
Yeah, we'd love to.
They'll ask you, people are
if they're
talking.
interested.
Yeah, you're traveling, you do, and that's still valuable too.
I think
so you would do that.
It's
It's
not
not
like
like
we've probably made people help people go vegan on airplane flights. I mean, it seems like it. Because it's easier for me in a sense. Because we always say, well, what do you do? And I say, well, I've written a book on and they say, what's the book about? And I say, it's on about going vegan.
That's great.
You know, and then, oh, really? And then I just go from there and talk, and we travel, and Madeleine's an artist, and she's a vegan. But we talk, we try to, like you're saying, we emphasize the benefits. And I'm not so, I love the vegan word, but I don't want to use the vegan word as any way to make any kind of division between myself and another person.
Right.
And I think the vegan word can be used in unskillful ways. Like if someone says, so why don't you eat hamburgers? If I just say, because I'm a vegan, then the person says, oh, because you're vegan. But that doesn't help that much. If I say, because I don't like to cause unnecessary suffering to cows, then I'm being more explicit about the reasoning and planting a seed. Because if I just say I'm a vegan, that's just sort of puts me into an exclusive club of people who, whatever reason, are not like me. And I think the whole idea, even better response might be to say something like, gosh, because I realized that the only reason I was eating burgers all those years that I was because I was just following orders. And now I realize those orders were not in my best interest. I'm not doing it anymore, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Then the person thinks, that's actually, I'm just doing because I follow orders too. And that plants a seed that will actually proactively propel them to question, because I don't want to change someone. I can only change myself. If I try to change them, I'm trying to manipulate. It's like violent. I'm going to change you. I just want to plant a seed with love and respect and just say, I'm doing it because I realized I was just following orders, and these orders are devastating to me, to animals, to the earth. I'm not doing it anymore. It's really great.
Yeah.
And then it's just fantastic. Leave that sense of, I'm so grateful I figured this out. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
And that feeling of joy.
That's the energy transfer.
Yeah.
And that's the part that
then
when
they
they
leave, and they don't remember it. They maybe forget the whole thing, but when they go vegan, a few months later, they'll think they did it because on their own, which is the way it should be. Then they'll become an activist.
Yeah, I think
they came to on their own.
It's great. So in other words, however you portrayed it, you want to, instead of limiting them,
right?
Yes.
You open the path to them, and they got to do it themselves. Like what I've said, and I did this every day. I tried to get better at it because I figured, well, why make it worse? I mean, I'm going to put out an effort. I want to try to be good at this, and I'm not very good at it naturally. But if I was talking to, it would depend on the person. But if I was talking to someone that I was making them a little bit uncomfortable. Like if I said vegan, I may not have even said vegan, but I might say I don't eat animal products anymore. But what I would say was keep it super light with them, and I would say, they'd say, what's your theme? And I'd say, well, my theme's animals. I love animals, and I just love them so much I stopped eating them, or I stopped using their products even. It's even a little bit less. I stopped using their products, and it's led me to a great joy, and just that's the confident message. I didn't go beyond that. And I don't know what happened with that person.
Happy.
Yeah, you should try this. And then they see you've been hiking 700 miles. It's like, well, that just says something too,
Right.
It's like, wow, I'm vegan, and if I'm not vegan, I'm not doing this hike,
Yeah.
And that I feel good about. I don't try to tell people, hey, if you're going to go vegan, you're going to lose weight. I don't feel good about that. I don't think that's true. I think it may be it's part of it, but I don't even like to say you're going to be healthy. The environment and health are gray areas that I don't like to get into. I'm not a nutritionalist, and I don't want to mislead people. I think that the animal part is where it's at. It's the black and white. It's the part you can feel confident with. We're not looking for a perfect world here, but have you ever regretted doing anything for an animal? Ask the people. They'll say no.
Animal, right.
No. I mean, we relate to animals the same way we relate to people. Once we get to know them as an individual, we know that they're valuable. And I already know that as a vegan. I don't need to know your dog. I already know your dog is priceless. Not because he's a dog, and not because he's cute, because of who he is. Even if he annoys me, I still love that dog. And he's priceless because of that. And when a human does that, and this is one of those things that's black and white, it's not a gray area. if somebody the way a human being relates to an animal, once they've isolated that animal, it's not even to the point where they've given that animal a name. Once they